Hey, this is Antonio, and welcome back to my channel. We're going to have some fighting words. So the big fight is here. It's fight weekend. We have Josh Taylor taking on José Ramírez and a unification bout for 140 pounds. Both guys weighed in yesterday, and they both look ripped. They both look pretty intense, and they both look ready to go. Both actually weighed in at about 139.5 and 0.6 pounds. So both weighed in under the weight, which is always good. It shows their determination. It shows that they want this. I mean, who doesn't want to do a unification bout? So I haven't done a fight breakdown, so I'm going to do a fight breakdown so I can make my predictions in this video. So we have Josh Taylor, who is taller, who's just a naturally bigger guy. Josh Taylor is very big. I don't know how he makes 140 pounds, to be honest with you. He's very big. He could easily be a welterweight with no problems, you know. I can honestly see Josh Taylor going up to like 154 one day. Like, he's that big. When I look at the fight between the two, I ask myself, like, how this is going to play out. And when I look at Jose, what he likes to do is keep distance. And everything is off a jab. Everything is off a jab. And what he likes to do in particular is not just throw a jab. He is very fond of a triple jab, which I think is going to be very interesting, especially in the beginning of the fight. That if he can just maintain the distance, I'm just going to give you the pros and cons of each fighter. So if Jose can keep the jab throughout the fight, if he can be consistent, which he is consistent. I mean, both guys are finishers, both guys are tenacious and all those things. But that jab is going to play a huge role, either for Jose or against him. So not many people are throwing triple jabs. Jose is one of the guys who does that. He'll throw triple jabs, and he'll just keep you on the end of it. And then he'll follow up, and he'll probably go to the body or something like that. Both guys are actually really good body punchers as well. But Jose is a lot more active. He throws a lot more punches, which also is going to play a factor in this fight. Jose is a very active fighter throughout the round. He's not the type of guy who's going to say, okay, you know, I did well enough in this round. I'm going to take a breather, or I'm going to take a little break. He's not that guy. He's going to be active throughout the entire round. He's going to be pressing forward throughout the entire round. That will also be something that will not be a factor. Neither guy is going to be hard to fight. Both of those guys are type of guys who exert themselves in the ring, and they want to take control of the center ring. They want to back the other guy off into a corner or to the ring post. So Jose is going to be interesting. I would say he's more of a technical boxer, just because everything is played off of that jab, and everything, like, his movement is forward off the jab. I've never really seen him backing up, but I imagine the way he would fight, he would kind of jab his way out of it, you know, and just take short steps back, just so he could get himself back in a position to continue going forward, pressing forward. And then you have Josh Taylor, who is more of a compact fighter. So Josh doesn't like to waste a lot of energy. He picks his shots. He's very conservative with how many punches he's going to throw around. Now, I don't know if maybe he just feels like, you know, I'm not the biggest cardio machine, or he's just a conservative fighter. You know, if you look at, for example, Floyd Mayweather, he's actually a pretty conservative fighter. He's not going to throw useless punches or ineffective punches, or just he's not the guy who's going to do this just to keep you busy. He's not going to do that. He's going to think about it. You can see something processing in there, as opposed to like Jose Ramírez, who's, I'm just going to work off of this, and then something's going to come from it as I'm working from this. Almost like I'm getting hotter to create a flow or something like that. Josh Taylor isn't that. Josh Taylor is very composed. Josh Taylor is very compact. Josh Taylor is very conservative with his punches. Now, again, that can either hurt or help him. But I think that's going to be the factor in the later rounds. I think it can hurt him because Let's say this fight goes the distance. I can tell you right now, without the fight even taking place already, that Jose Ramirez is going to throw more punches than Josh Taylor. Hands down, easily. He'll probably outpunch him by 100 punches or something like that. So it can hurt him if it goes to a judge's decision. However, Josh will be a lot more fresh in the end because he doesn't throw so many punches. In which case, let's say you have a close fight, and let's say the fight is going to be as brutal as we are all predicting it's going to be, just based on the type of fighters that these guys are. It's going to be very close, very personal. I believe very in the box, I think it can help him, but I also think it can hurt him. Now, I just said how it can hurt him, but I think it can help him because in the end, he will be a lot more fresh. And sometimes, the boxing, depending on who's fighting and depending on, competition level, because it is boxing. If the competition level is even enough, it's really a game of inches. Now we're just talking like football. It's a game of inches. So if I'm fresher than you are in the latter rounds, I'm more composed than you are, and you're just punching, and I'm not doing that. I'm staying composed. I'm letting shots just pick off of me. I'm still bobbing, weaving. I've still got all my faculties. I know what's going on, but I can hit you with cleaner shots. Another thing that Josh Taylor does have, which I think will be a factor, but later on in the fight, obviously body punching. He loves body, but he loves that liver shot. But not only that, the uppercut from Josh Taylor. I think the uppercut from Josh Taylor is going to be a factor. And I'm talking later on in the fight, if it goes the distance. I mean, and I am using that word lightly because of, again, the two guys who are fighting, if it goes the distance. But the uppercut, I think, will be a very deadly weapon from probably around 7 on out. I think it will be a very deadly weapon, especially if utilized properly. Because I know the way Ramírez fights and I know the way Taylor fights. They're definitely going to be close enough for that uppercut to play a major role. Those are the pros and cons. I would say just the con for Ramírez would simply be that he could punch himself out. Josh Taylor's a big guy. Yeah, a lot of guys have fallen. I believe 17 have fallen. However, Josh Taylor's a pretty big guy. And he can take some punishment. I mean, Josh Taylor did go up against Regis Prograis, and Regis puts people down. And he didn't do that with Josh Taylor. He messed Josh Taylor up, and he still couldn't put him away. He swelled his eye. He still couldn't put him away. Now, the question would be, does Ramírez punch harder than Regis Prograis? I don't know. I will just simply say the man can punch. I mean, he's got 17 knockouts, so he can punch. But is it going to be enough to put Taylor down? And if he puts him down, I believe Taylor's the type of guy who gets back up. So you're dealing with that. Some people do better once they get back up. It's like you just ignited something in me. So the question would just be, can Ramírez keep his consistency throughout the fight? With the jabbing, with just letting his hands fly? And I believe for Josh Taylor, can you weather the storm for at least 5-6 rounds, of just consistent action going on, no rest in between, nobody leaning on each other, and let's just have an agreement that we're going to take like a good 10 seconds of rest on each other's shoulder. None of that. Consistent punching, consistent action, consistent footwork and placement, movements. I don't see a whole lot of around the ring. I don't see that. I just see a lot of on the ropes, letting them fly. But I think the defining rounds are going to be middle rounds, because I think that's where Josh is going to come alive, and I think that's where Ramírez will slow down a little bit, allowing Josh to come alive. And I think that's going to be like your pivotal point right there. What's going to happen from round 5, 6, 7? Who's going to take control from 5, 6, 7? Honestly, I truly believe from round 1 to 3 or 4, Jose Ramírez is going to take control. I'm not saying he's going to be dominant, but I am saying he's going to be a lot more active than Josh Taylor. But those middle rounds on in, I think that's when Josh Taylor comes alive. And I think that's when he really, because by that time you're going to be a little slower anyway. The sweat starts to come. You've taken some pretty big shots. So now the distance is going to close more. And I think that's when Josh Taylor is going to come alive. In terms of a prediction, it is hard to say. Neither guy has ever lost. So you can't go, well, this guy has a weak chin or this guy is soft in the body. You can't say any of those things. Neither one of them has ever lost. I don't even think either one of them has ever been down. I could be wrong, but I don't believe either one of them has even been down. So I'm just going to go on grit because I don't think Ramírez has been through the amount of adversity that Josh Taylor has. Since Josh Taylor fought Regis Prograis, who was also a champion. It's one thing when you fight just another opponent, but when you fight a champion, you're talking about an individual who went through everybody else. You're talking about an individual who has a certain mindset now, because he came in with the mindset of I can't be beat. But now you're also talking about an individual who had that mindset of I can't be beat, and I also have this belt to show that I'm the guy that I cannot be beat. So I'm going to have to go with Josh Taylor on this. I just think he's bigger. I just think he's more durable. I think at some point Jose Ramírez will slow down. And I think at that point, Josh Taylor is going to definitely put his foot on the accelerator and we're going to see a shift in the fight. And again, I think it's going to be somewhere in those middle rounds. So I'm going to have to go with Josh Taylor on this. I feel strongly. Now, the next question would simply be, you think it's going to be a stoppage? You think it's somebody's just going to throw in a towel? Do you think it's going to go to a decision? I don't know. Neither one of these guys strike me as somebody who takes the knee. Neither one of these guys strike me as somebody who's getting knocked out, because they've both shown that they're pretty solid chins. But I'm going to say a decision. Either a decision or a technical knockout. I don't think it'll be a flat-out knockout. I think it'll be a technical. I think these two, again, just because of the way they fight, I think they're just going to do a lot of damage to each other. And at best, we're talking about a technical knockout where a referee just says, you know what, you've had too much in this round. Something like that. I don't want to say somebody in the corner waving the flag. Again, even those camps don't even strike me as that. I'm gonna say a technical knockout or a decision. But if it's a decision, I think it'd probably be, I don't know about unanimous. I'll just say a 2-1 decision. Because again, I think Jose Ramírez is going to be quite the force from rounds 1 to 4. It's just those middle rounds that I don't know about, that are kind of gray to me. Every time I play this fight out in my head, I don't technically see anybody giving ground. I think that's when the fight really begins. 4 through 7. That's when the fight really begins. But yeah, I'm going with either a technical knockout or I don't think I'm allowed to do that, right? So I'm just going to say a decision. I think a decision for Josh Taylor. How about that? Because I don't want to cop out and be like, oh, it's going to be a technical or this. No, I'm going to say it's going to be a decision for Josh Taylor. I just think he's too durable. I think he fought a tougher opponent in Regis Prograis. So that's my prediction, and that's my breakdown. But you tell me what you think down below, and as always, please like and subscribe.